because we kind of glossed over it like earlier, but I am curious, like what, she's done music, she's been in TV, I've been a model. I could tell you everything there is to know about the modeling industry.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm curious what your, experiences have been in like Hollywood as a child actress. Then, the show ends, you end up back home for a while. I'm curious, like, do you have any experience that stands out that maybe was, that's just a microcosm of what it is to be an actress in Hollywood?
I mean, you're exposed to the party scene at such a young age, and like definitely got some friends that were on like either Nickelodeon or Disney shows that have had like a terrible hand dealt with like drugs and alcohol, and like now they're sober, thank God. But it really is sad, the fact that you're exposed to so much that you shouldn't be exposed to. And I mean, that's definitely one reason why my kids are not going to be allowed to be in like this kind of space, just because I don't want them to have the same experiences I did. Like, there's so many great opportunities that came from what situation I was put into. But with that, the trade-off being you're exposed to partying, you're exposed to drinking. I mean, I vividly remember being on set and there was weed on set, and it's what it was. And like, as a 12-year-old, you don't know what they're doing, but like we had older castmates, so they were definitely doing things, and you didn't really realize it until after the situation. And you're like, oh, like interesting. And a lot of people have used drugs and alcohol to cope with the experience of Hollywood. And like, yes, I know that there's definitely some people that have not gone into that world, but there also are people who have, and like have gone down the wrong path and gotten addicted and gone through all of these different problems. And it really is sad, because I genuinely think in the real world, you don't have those experiences. Like, yes, there are experiences that you are exposed to, but it's not in the same capacity.
So how challenging was it for you to be on like a significant show on a huge network, to then go back, and you said that for a little while you were working a minimum wage job? I'm sure people recognized you.
Oh, I had like a few people come up to me and be like, aren't you the girl from Game Shakers? And I'm like, yeah, like I'm Madisyn, nice to meet you.
Was that like cool, or was it like was it like challenging mentally and emotionally, or like how was that, and how did you keep from falling into drugs and alcohol or other coping mechanisms?
So I'm very grateful for my experiences. Like, the fact that people recognize me, I'm like, I wouldn't be where I am today if people didn't recognize me. So like, I really have no problem with it. Now, there are times where like, I feel like it's always how it happens. Like, whenever you do not want to meet people, that's whenever you get recognized, and you're like, oh my God, of course. Like, and you try to be like happy go lucky and like very nice. And like, that's just how I've always been taught to act. And like, yes, I am very, very grateful, and you always act humble, but there's definitely times in life where you're like, okay, like I really just wanted to come to the supermarket and be in sweatpants and like just live my life and be.
But you're talking
fine.
about it from the perspective of someone who's like already successful being recognized. I want to know what that feeling is when you're at what would be presumably a low point being recognized, right? Because that's a different story. Being recognized when you're on top of the world is great, but what about when you're working that minimum wage job and someone recognizes you?
It was the same thing for me.
Really?
Like, honestly, like I really didn't have any negative connotations with being recognized. I will say it was a crappy situation whenever I was in high school and like went to that real high school, and people knew that I was the Nickelodeon girl. And it wasn't the fact that they were recognizing me. It was the fact that
they were jealous.
They were jealous. And I didn't really understand that at the time. And I think in my head, I thought that high school was going to be a great experience for me, that it was going to make me feel whole, and like it was going to be what I was missing. And I mean, shame on me, because I thought that high school was going to be like Glee and High School Musical, and kids love everyone, and like you dance and you sing. And it was just not the case. And I even tried to like get involved in things that I knew I was like good at, that I had succeeded in. I joined drama. I joined like singing. Like, I was trying to put myself out there and like find things that would be helpful and, I mean, be fun for me. And I was bullied like crazy. I had so many kids who made up rumors about me, and I like vividly remember these.
Girl. I feel like we could relate to each other a lot. But I will say this, that because I'm a little older than you, I could tell you like all of these. It's so funny. Like, here, let me give you an example. A girl who bullied me in high school. Okay. I'm at the club one time doing a club hosting gig here in LA. And a couple of my friends from high school, because like I said, I grew up here in LA, you know, so I'm still friends with a lot of people I grew up with. So I invited a few of them out. And there's this girl who like was kind of a bully to me in high school, like wouldn't kind of like let me up in her group. And the funniest thing, she's kind of standing on like the edge of my table, and the waitress girl's like, oh, or like, are you with them? Like, are you at Chanel's table? And she's like, oh, Chanel, like, that's my girl from high school. And I like heard her say it, and I literally was like,
really?
I was like, you're a girl. You literally were a bully to me.
I've had people like that who've reached out to me since and been like, I'm so happy for you.
But
And I'm
that's what
like,
saying, though,
I mean, like, I'm never going to be a bitch to you, but like,
I just don't even respond.
I don't either. I'm like, it's not worth my time.
As soon as you get a certain amount of success, everybody that was a bully to you or acted like they didn't like you or was rude to you in high school, all of a sudden will come around acting like they were your best friend the whole time.
Dude, this one kid,
as soon as they can gain something, then they're like, oh, yeah.
No, this one kid that like really fucked with me in 8th grade, like bad. He sees me on like, 10 years later, sees me on Nike.com, sends it to me. Is like, oh, so happy for you, bro. This is cool. Like, like whatever.
I love how they try to start conversations like they've talked to you for so long.
Yeah.
It's so funny to me.
Yeah. Well, we're running out of time, so I would love to hear